Hey everybody, welcome to the Fire Pose Cures. Me, Gabriel Johnson. I'm so excited that you're here with us today. Hey, don't forget, click like and subscribe if you want to join us for this journey. Today we are talking about something you have heard a lot about. I don't know about you, but it's been a little confusing for me. I heard about it and I was like, what exactly is this thing? You need it to get to where you want to go. You gotta have it. But it's kind of a nefarious concept and people don't spend a whole lot of time explaining exactly what it is. And I'm talking about vision. Vision is super important for deciding exactly where you want to go and how you want to get there. As a matter of fact, it's one of the preliminary steps to even starting the journey. But what is vision? What is vision? I've heard vision kind of described as it's a clear picture. It's a clear picture of where you want to go. Now, here's the thing. We all have pictures of where we want to go. But the key word here is clear, right? A lot of us have ideas, thoughts, and those ideas and those thoughts, those fuzzy pictures in our head, those are actually called dreams. Like, it would be really good if I could. Oh, it'd be nice to kind of be, right? But when you're talking about vision, vision takes that fuzzy picture and starts to put an outline to it. It's so important because without vision, there is no direction. I love this little interchange in the book Alice in Wonderland, and I'm gonna just kind of read a little bit of it here. Alice, she goes down the rabbit hole and she meets the Cheshire Cat, and she says, "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" The cat responds, "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to." Alice says, "I don't much care where." The cat responds to her. I love his response. "Then it doesn't matter which way you go." So Alice, through the conversation, she says, "Well, so long as I get somewhere." The cat says, "Oh, you're sure to do that if you only walk long enough." And a lot of us kind of lead lives, right, where we've walked a really long time and we've gotten there, but we don't quite know where there is, right? Another person said that a vision is kind of like going through life without a vision is like running a race without the finish line. Even if you win, you don't know you've arrived, right? Like, you have to know exactly where you're going. And so it starts with a dream. It starts with a dream, right? We need to have some kind of a sense of what we'd like. And here's where some of us run into problems, right? Some of us have had lives, have been in situations and circumstances where life has taken our ability to dream. And I think we need to really address this because this is not something that you hear a lot about. What happens if you find that you can't dream? I've been there. I've sat down and like, okay, what do you want in life, right? What do you want to get out of life? And I sit back and I'm like, okay, I'm going to dream now, and nothing is coming, right? Like, it's just not there. And what I found enables you to dream is something called belief. In 1 Corinthians 13, the Bible talks about the big three, right? I remember in the old King James, now abide these three: faith, hope, and love, the greatest of these being love, right? But faith is so pivotal. And a lot of times we talk about it in the context of believing in someone, believing in God or whatever, but just the ability itself to believe that something better is possible is essential to the dreaming process. It's essential. If you can't believe, it makes this journey a lot harder. Don't despair. We're going to deal with how to address that. But if you find that you get to the point where it's like, I don't have a dream, I can't dream, check your belief. Do you believe that things are possible? Not only possible, but plausible. A lot of us believe things are possible, right? Like, by the rules of physics, there are a lot of crazy things that are possible. Like, I could walk through this lamp over here or drop through the floor, but it's not likely to happen. And that's the difference between possibility and plausibility. Something that's plausible is likely to happen? Do you have faith or belief that something positive, something better is likely to happen? And when we talk about belief, I love how Tony Robbins describes belief. He describes belief as a certainty. Do you have this certainty that something better is possible? Because if you don't have that certainty, it makes everything shaky. And this is something that I will have to tell you. I struggle with a lot. I struggle with it a whole lot because how you see yourself, your vision, your internal vision of who and what you are, a lot of times determines how far you'll actually go, because you will never rise above the limiting beliefs and faith systems in your own mind. And so one of the things that we have to realize is that belief is made up, is a certainty, right? It's foundational to the dreaming process. Belief is certainty, and belief is made up of your thoughts and your emotions. Now, brothers, stay with me, because a lot of times we aren't always clued in to our emotions. We don't know how to use them in our society. We're not really encouraged to express them. And so there's a lot in there for us that's sometimes a little bit difficult. And so when we need to get in touch with your true self, we're like, what? Right? We need to be like, okay, listen, I want to tell you something. Number one, brothers, your emotions are fine. The fact that you get angry is okay. The fact that you get sad is okay. It's okay to be happy. And I want you to start actually taking note of the feelings that you feel when you feel them. How do you do that? For some of us, it's going to be laborious and slightly painful, right? Because we're not taught to do this. But whenever something happens, instead of just trying to rush by it and saying, okay, I just need to do something, just pause and say, I'm going to let myself feel this for 30 seconds. If that's too long, 10 seconds, okay? But begin to acknowledge that you feel something, even if you don't know what it is. I used to feel feelings all the time. I just didn't know what they were, right? I just felt bad. I didn't know if I was frustrated, if I was angry, if I was sad, if there was some weird mixture. I was just like, how do you feel? I feel not so great, but I'll be all right. I'll get it done, right? Take the time to acknowledge that you feel. You may not even know how you're feeling exactly, but acknowledge that a feeling is there. Once you start doing that, you're going to have to take note of the thoughts that you're thinking as well, okay? So when something happens, this is just a little exercise. When something happens and it hits you and makes you feel some kind of way, just be like, I feel some kind of way about this. And then take note of, what am I thinking in this moment? I began to realize in my own self, and I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable with you here. I began to realize that the way I talked to myself internally was hyper negative. And I don't think I even realized that I was doing it. But not only was it negative, I began to realize something about myself. I was driving down the road one day and I had done something, made a mistake. I don't know what it was. And I felt bad. I began to denigrate myself in my own mind, right? I began to just like, Gabe, why'd you do that, man? You're so stupid. Why in the world with da-da-da-da-da? As I began to go through this tape that was playing in my head, this audio file that was playing through my mind, what I began to notice in that moment is that my emotional state began to stabilize and I began to feel better. That's when I realized there was a problem, because my negative self-talk caused my emotional state to feel equilibrated, which means that I did not think very highly of myself, and I would never be able to get past that until I learned, hey, Gabe, you need to talk to yourself in a loving way. And I couldn't do it because talking to Gabe in a loving way didn't feel good and comfortable and right. But I didn't know that until that moment, right? And so I just want you to, don't worry about, I can't identify all my feelings. Don't worry about it. Just take the time, feel the feeling, notice a thought, Keep going. Just practice it. Just practice it. You get better by practice. Once you realize that, you will begin to be able to direct your thoughts, right? And as you direct your thoughts, your feelings will begin to fall into alignment, right? Now you can direct your feelings too, but for guys, a lot of times we just process things differently. So sometimes it may be easier for you to just process your thoughts, change your thoughts, and your feelings follow. Sometimes it'll be easier to do it a different way. But dealing with vision, you have to have a foundational belief that something better is possible, just possible. Once you realize it's possible, you can begin to dream. And so they ask kids, they were asking some kids, what do you want? They're like, oh, I want a Charger. Ooh, I want a Mustang. Ooh, I want this. It was a poor area as well. And these kids were listing off all these cars. And the person who was asking them I think he was a millionaire. He says, why didn't anybody say a Bugatti? And they said, because people like us don't get cars like that. Your inability to believe will limit your ability to dream. So once you get the belief, you start dreaming. What could life possibly be like? I don't know. Well, what if things were different? Do you love your life the way it is right now? Yes? No? Okay. Let's say you're like, I don't know, it's my life. It is what it is. You can't do anything about it. No problem. No problem. So if something could be better, let's just say you were to watch a movie about somebody's life who was similar to yours, not yours, but similar, right? What would you change in that movie? Like, man, this guy's living out of his trailer, right? Now, maybe you love your trailer, maybe you love your house, maybe you love your mansion. I don't really care what it is, but what would you say? You know what? I would change this one little thing. What would that one thing be? And make it an improvement. And I want you to start training yourself to do that. Like, just go throughout your life, and if you have to step outside of it and say, hey, I'm going to look at my life as though it was somebody else or as though it were a movie, or I'm going to pick one thing per day or per week and say, you know what one thing in my life could improve? And just look for it. It may be really hard, but what one thing could be better? Once you practice this, you will begin to train your mind to think that something else is possible. It may be fuzzy. Don't worry about it. I want to be rich, and I want to travel places and do things. Great, great start, right? If you don't have a clear picture, that's okay. That's what a dream is. But as you begin to formulate this idea of a dream, right? The longer you stare at it, now get this, the longer you stare at it with your mind's eye, the clearer the picture begins to form. Okay? I wear glasses now. I remember when I found out that I needed them, I was drawing something, and I was on the paper like this. I was about to grab something, but I was on the paper like this, and I couldn't figure out why I was on the paper like this. And then I had to close one eye, right, to get it right. And I was closing my other eye. And I was like, oh, Lord, I'm going blind. And I didn't know what disease I had, but I was pretty sure I was about to die as well. So I realized I probably needed to get a second opinion, as I have absolutely no medical training. So there was a member of my church who was also an optometrist. And he says, Gabe, I'll give you a eye exam. And it turns out I needed glasses. And it was crazy. Let me tell you something, people. I don't know if you've ever experienced this. And now, if you're young or you've never had glasses, you're not going to relate to this exactly. But I remember when I put the glasses on that they prescribed, it was like I had stepped into a different world, man. Green. Do you know what color green is? It's green. Did you know that green was green, y'all? But it's a vibrant green. Like, the sky was bluer, the grass was greener, all the colors were just popping, and everything was just in front of your face. And when I went to do what I was doing before, drawing or writing, I could just see what I was doing. It was like a whole new experience. But you know what else it did? It made me dizzy. That's something that they don't tell you about with glasses. Like, when you get glasses and it starts correcting your vision, it makes you just a little bit unstable, right? Because you're not used to walking in the reality of the world as it actually is, right? You're used to having to adjust because you can't really see stuff. This is what happens when your dream becomes clearer. It makes things pop that didn't pop before. You begin to see your everyday life in a different kind of a light. But it's also a little unnerving because you're like, but I'm not really there yet. And this is the tension that you have to have with vision, right? You have to live in a world that doesn't quite yet exist in your external reality, but completely exist in your internal reality. That's why belief, that internal certainty, is so important, because you begin to build your vision inside first. So your vision has to be more real than the world you walk through. Your vision has to be more real than reality. And that may make you a little crazy looking to other people, but that's okay. That's okay. And so as you begin to look at your dream and it clarifies into a vision, you begin to see the shape and the outline of it, and it becomes clearer and clearer. And as it becomes clearer, it becomes more and more compelling, more and more motivational. It's the clarity of the vision that propels you towards it, because the goal isn't to chase after a vision. That's not really what you want to do. A lot of us set a vision, go get it. Set a vision, go get it. That's not really exactly how it is. What you want to do is to discover a vision, to find a vision and articulate it, and it be so clear in your mind and in your heart that the vision pulls you into its reality. Did you get what I said? You want a vision that pulls you into its reality. How does that happen? We talked about belief. We talked about dream. Vision is tethered not only to your belief system, right? But it's tethered also to your values. That's another strong core tenet of a clear vision. So as your belief solidifies more and more, your values solidify. What are your values? These are the things, the principles that you live your life by. And some of us lead unexamined lives. And it's the worst kind of life to live, because we don't take time, not you, because I did it too, but we don't take time a lot of times for self-reflection at a deep level. We are uncomfortable sitting in silence with ourselves. We were setting up for this shot, and I think the radiator or something was going in the background, and we had to turn it off. So Jeff was like, "Yo, how we turn this off?" We hit the button, it turned off, and it was very interesting. The room got real quiet, and I felt uncomfortable. I did. I literally felt uncomfortable. I was like, it is too quiet in here, right? And I got at least two people in this room with me, and I was like, we need more noise, please. We are so inundated with distraction and noise and sound that we don't take the time to find out who we are and how we operate. So when someone asks us, what is your vision? What is your dream? We're not in touch with ourselves enough to give a solid answer. That's another reason why sometimes having a vision is really hard. It's a little bit difficult. And so you need to be in touch with your values. Do you have a value of excellence, of growth, of service, right? And I want to take the time to say this. A lot of times we try to live our lives for the approval of other people. And so when people ask us our values, we try to say values that make us look good, right? Don't do that. This is a journey that's for you. So you have to be honest with yourself. My mother used to tell me, she said, baby, when I was a kid, she said, baby, you can lie to everybody else, but don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. If you're like, I believe that excellence is one of my values, and you don't take the time to go the extra mile ever, joker, excellence is not a value for you. That's okay. Just acknowledge that, right? Because you want to know, what are the values that I actually do live my life by? Those real core values. Now, you're going to find that values tend to be stable over time, but they also change. And I bring that to light because if there are values that you want to have, that you realize you don't currently possess, you can now strive to obtain those values. Those values are called aspirational values. Okay. They're the values you don't have, but you do want. Okay. So I want you to be honest with yourself about where you actually are. How do you live your life? Okay. If you find that you're always late, why are you late? This is how you determine your values. Observe yourself. Now, there are exercises and things, and I'll try to include some resources that'll help you iron some of this out. But just to get you started right now, observe yourself and ask yourself this one question. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? You got to work late. Why did I get to work late? Well, because my car broke down. Okay, that was something outside of yourself. Or, man, I was running late because I got showered late. Okay. Or why'd you get showered late? Well, because such and such. Oh, okay. Maybe you realize that you didn't plan well. Maybe you didn't prepare well. Maybe you did all of those things and something outside your sphere of influence occurred, right? Conversely, if you do something that you like, you won an award, you did something great, ask yourself, why? Why did I do this? I got this award. What was the reason? Well, you're excellent salesman, wonderful presenter. You did great leading the team. You did whatever. Why did I get that award? You may find that you got that award because you like to help people. You're an excellent teacher. You want to learn. That growth is something that you really value. I found that growth is a core value for me. And so any job that I take, if I don't see there's a way for me to grow, I don't generally take the job, right? So what is it when I say grow? I mean grow internally. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I can climb the corporate ladder, right? Because not everybody wants to climb the corporate ladder. And you need to be honest with yourself about that. Sometimes you'll get into positions, right? And you're just talented. And people see your talent, they see your giftedness, and they're like, yo, you need to do this. And you're like, I don't really want to do that. But everybody's saying it, so you're like, well, maybe I need to do that. So you start out in the mailroom, right? You get up to team manager. They want to make you vice president, and you stop being connected with your job back here, team manager. Maybe that's as far as you really want to go. But you're not going to know that that's as far as you need to go unless you know your values. Okay. And so it's really important for you to be clued into this concept of values. What are your values? How do you live your life? What principles and rules do you live your life by? What principles and rules do you want to live your life by? How do you pick those aspirational values? Well, as you're beginning to solidify this fuzzy, this dream into a vision, you begin to say, what's necessary? Who do I have to be to get there? Who do I have to be to get there? That question is going to be super important for something that we're going to be discussing later, okay? Who do I have to be to get there? Notice I didn't say, what do I have to do? They're not the same. All right, so when you're dealing with vision, you're anchored in your beliefs, it's anchored in your values. And then as this becomes clearer and clearer, as the vision becomes clearer and clearer, the action steps that you need to take to achieve that vision also begin to emerge. And this becomes your mission, your purpose, right? Now, I want to say a word about that because a lot of times when we're dealing with mission and purpose, we're like, I got to have this grand mission, this amazing purpose. Oh, and it gets so big and we're like, I want to go home and play video games now, right? And that's cool. Play your video games. But also, don't make this so big that you can't do it. Like, don't do that. Like, when they're like, you got to dream big. But the biggest you ever dreamed was like, I really just want to have a cabin on the side of a lake. That's okay. That's not a small dream. It's not a big one. It's your one. That's what you have to have. You have to have your vision, your dream, because it doesn't matter what other people think about your dream and your vision. It has to be fulfilling for you and the purpose that you feel God put you on this world for, right? So that's what you have to do. So don't make this too big. Start small. That's why I told you, what one thing, if it could be better, if you don't have a lot of belief and things that things would be better, if something could change, what would you change? And focus on that one thing and just make it clearer and clearer in your mind what aspects will be different about that one thing. And as you focus on that and ask yourself, who do I have to be to achieve that? And that gets clearer to you. The action steps. Well, what would I have to do? After you be, then you do. After I am that thing, what would I have to do to achieve that? And that will give you your mission and your purpose. So I want us to talk about this step of vision for just a little bit, so we would know the place of vision in success. Because what that does is it gives us not only a clear picture, right? It gives us kind of a little bit of put some juice in our engine, right? And it gives us a direction to go. It gives us a concrete direction to go. And that's what you need for any goal, for any dream, for any idea in your head to be realized. You got to have a direction. You can't jump in a car and be like, yeah, we're going to get there. We're going to have a great vacation, fam. Where are we going? Oh, no. You can't do that, right? Because you could pass by Casey's, the gas station, and be like, all right, we're there, right? Or you can actually make it to Disney. It depends on what you're trying to do. So you can get to where you want to go so long as you know where you're headed. Well, that's all for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. All right, brothers, fall 7, rise 8. Love you.